a family with more drive and determination. So I think everything's pointing at Chris Eubank Jr., but I think I might have a sneaky few quid on Conor, to be honest with you. His drive and his confidence and his self-belief is something that I've only ever seen in a handful of people.
No. One thing about Conor is that Conor's a heavy, he's like a heavy welterweight. You know what I mean? He's quite big, fills into the weight quite well. I think that'll be an amazing fight.
Just a victory. Do you know what I mean? A stoppage. I'll be gunning for the stoppage. No doubt. As I always do every single fight.
Conor Benn's upcoming clash with Chris Eubank Jr. carries the weight of one of boxing's most storied family rivalries. But several of the sport's most respected voices insist that Benn's blend of ferocity, speed power, and unrelenting pressure will culminate in a decisive destruction of Eubank Jr. His conviction is rooted in the hunger born from a stalled career and personal injustice. The mentorship of his father, Nigel Benn, ringing endorsements of legends such as Ricky Hatton, Tony Bellew, Liam Smith, and Adam Azim beyond raw physicality. Benn's tactical acumen in close-quarters psychological edge, aided by a grudging respect and even a contractual tweak favoring his inside game, combine to create a formula that insiders believe will overwhelm Eubank Jr. early and force a stoppage well before the final bell. Conor Benn's journey back to the ring has been fraught with adversity, including a high-profile suspension following positive tests for clomiphene that led to the collapse of his original showdown in October 2022 and sidelined him until November 2024. The experience of public scrutiny, legal battles, and personal resolve sharpened Benn's focus and solidified his belief that he must make an emphatic statement upon his return. Far from diminishing his confidence, the ordeal only stoked the fire, instilling in him a mindset of redemption that few opponents possess. In the days leading up to the fight, Benn has spoken openly of feeling reborn in the gym, channeling frustration and disappointment into a relentlessness that threatens to engulf any foe who underestimates him. If you liked this video, please subscribe, punch Vista, and click the bell icon for more latest and interesting videos.
It makes no difference to me what he does, what he thinks. I really could not care less. Because regardless, I'm going to come out there, a couple of hot skips and a big right hand to his temple. You can prepare for that.
Sparring's the next best thing to actually fighting. The stuff that we've been doing on the pads, on the bag, and what we've been talking about technically, we'll try all them things out in sparring, and that's what sparring really is.
Nigel Benn, a former world champion and one half of the original Benn vs. Eubank rivalry, has unequivocally declared that his son is not merely seeking victory but intends to destroy Chris Eubank Jr., speaking to Vision 4 Sport in February 2025. Nigel Benn emphasized that Conor is on a mission and that you're going to see a powerful destroyer in that ring. His assurance stems from intimate knowledge of his son's capabilities, honed through childhood immersion in elite boxing environments and rigorous sparring sessions that mirrored professional wars. Nigel's confidence transcends mere paternal pride. It shows a deep conviction that Benn's combination of aggression, technical growth, and sheer willpower constitutes a weapon that will dismantle Eubank Jr. Defenses, Ricky Hatton, one of Britain's most beloved fighters, has similarly championed Benn's chances, pointing to his superior speed drive and freshness. As critical advantages, Hatton and fellow commentator Adam Azim have noted that Eubank Jr. enters on short rest after a January 2025 tune-up, whereas Benn has paced his comeback perfectly, emerging revitalized from a long hiatus. Azim added that Benn's youth and hunger translated into a relentless forward march, allowing him to dictate the fight's rhythm and suffocate any flickers of offense. From Eubank Jr., Hatton observed that in the weight-drained environment of middleweight, Benn's legs will carry him with snap and endurance that Eubank Jr., bound by a strict rehydration clause.
It's really interesting to think, to be honest with you. I mean, Conor's going up for, two weight divisions. He's not fought anyone like the people that Eubank Jr has fought, you know, at his own weight, let alone 2 weights above. So it'll be very interesting. But Conor has a huge self-belief and drive, to be honest with you. You know, a drive like his dad, the Benn family. I've never seen a family with more drive and determination. So I think everything's pointing at Chris Eubank Jr. But I think I might have a sneaky few quid on Conor, to be honest with you. His drive and his confidence and his self-belief is something that I've only ever seen in a handful of people, and he's going to need that, and I think that might be enough against Eubank.
May struggle to match Tony Bellew, a modern great whose insight into big event dynamics is unparalleled forecast, a scenario in which Benn dominates the early rounds before Eubank Jr. can leverage his size. Speaking on TalkSport, Bellew asserted that the first 6 rounds will belong to Conor Benn. He will not be able to keep Conor Benn off for 6 rounds. Bellew's analysis hinges on Benn's ability to close distances swiftly, unleash compact combinations, and maintain crushing pressure, thus nullifying Eubank Jr.'s lateral movement and technical counterpunching. While Bellew concedes that size might become a factor in the later rounds, he stresses that if Benn capitalizes fully before the midpoint, the fight will be effectively over, as Eubank Jr. will be too battered and demoralized to mount a comeback. Liam Smith, the only man ever to halt Eubank Jr. professionally, has laid out the blueprint by which Benn can replicate that feat, Smith's upset. Stoppage in January 2023 hinged on exploiting Eubank Jr.'s occasional lapses in defense and his tendency to drop his guard when under sustained assault. He advises Benn to employ the same inside fighting intensity that allowed him to land the fight-turning punches, warning Eubank Jr. will struggle to recover if assailed by volley after volley in close quarters. Smith praises Benn's improved technical proficiency, noting that the younger fighter has sharpened his jabbing, honed his combinations, and become adept at cutting off the ring, all of which will be vital in recreating the conditions that facilitated Smith's knockout.
I think Eubank beats him on points.
Eubank Benn. What do you think happens?
You know what, I'm a little bit torn at the moment, but I'll stick with what I've always said. I think Eubank beats him on points, but I won't be surprised if Conor wins. I think Eubank is firmly on the slide now, and I'll get stick for saying that. I also think 160 is hitting him now. He's starting to mention it a few times, so that's why I bring Conor into it a little bit more. But like I said before, that being said, if Conor flattens Chris, I won't be surprised. I won't be like, wow, Conor's just knocked Chris out. And if Chris was the same to Conor, I won't be surprised, because Conor's been down, many times before with journeyman, lesser punches than Chris. So I won't be surprised with the outcome, but I do think it's a closer fight this time round.
Conor Benn's tactical framework is further reinforced by a granted request to fight in a reduced-sized 18F tring, a concession designed to amplify engagement and curtail long-range maneuvering. Promoter Eddie Hearn confirmed that this unconventional stipulation emerged from Benn's team and was approved specifically to favor a high-octane press-driven contest. The smaller canvas virtually guarantees frequent infighting and limits Eubank Jr.'s ability to reset after absorbing punishment, thereby catalyzing Benn's preferred strategy of sustained assault. This ring modification, almost unprecedented at this level of boxing, underscores the expectation among insiders that the bout will unfold as a grueling, non-stop war rather than a tactical chess match. Power statistics show Benn's capacity for destruction. As an undefeated professional, he boasts a 23 record with 14 stoppages, reflecting a 2/3 knockout rate that dwarfs Eubank Jr.'s 25 KOs in 34 victories. Such figures, while only one facet of analysis reveal an underpinning reality, Benn's punches carry genuine stoppage intent, and his track record indicates he can end fights abruptly when his offense connects cleanly. Observers also point to Benn's ability to accumulate damage via volume punching, creating cumulative effects that sap an opponent's resilience faster than isolated power shots alone.
Obviously, this fight is a different fight mentally for him because there's a lot on the line with pride.
The sort of fights they had, there was never that third fight, and it's a blessing that the Sons get to finish it off. Definitely fight for the family name, for sure. Putting the Benn name back where it belongs. When I train, I just push myself. The sessions that look hard to you, the sessions that look hard to everybody else, I want to make it look as easy as I possibly can. I'm a savage. That's it. I'm not human.
Psychologically, Ben enters with the heavier emotional baggage and deeper personal motivation. Having endured the shame of failed tests that he contests as false positives, he is braced to vindicate himself not only in the boxing sphere but in the court of public opinion. During their final press conference, despite intense provocation from Eubank Jr., who taunted him about his doping history and familial demons, Ben remained outwardly calm but vowed an aggressive performance that promised retribution in Thering. This steely composure under fire suggests a mental toughness that, when combined with his willingness to engage, will strain Eubank Jr.'s ability to impose his own game plan, adding further momentum to Ben's case. A poll of TalkSport listeners showed that 43% predict a mid-round knockout in favor of Ben, a significant counterbalance to the 52% favoring Eubank Jr. in overall fight winner polling, and indicative of widespread sentiment that Ben's power and aggression render him a genuine stoppage threat. These aggregated impressions from informed fans echo the consensus among veterans. When Ben's onslaught is fully unleashed, it will be insurmountable. Ultimately, the convergence of high-octane aggression, strategic ring manipulation, superior pace, technical refinement in close quarters, and a consuming psychological edge form a coherent blueprint that boxing legends believe will see Conor Benn obliterate Chris Eubank Jr. in decisive fashion, from his father, Nigel's admonition of destruction, to Ricky Hatton's and Adam Azim's faith in Ben's freshness and speed, to Tony Bello's projection of early dominance, and Liam Smith's tactical roadmap. All paths lead to a scenario in which Ben's pressure and power culminate in a stoppage against an opponent constrained by weight cuts and rehydration limits, facing the visceral force of Ben's assault on a shrunken canvas. Chris Eubank Jr. is widely expected to be unable to withstand the storm. When the fighters meet at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, those in Ben's corner and countless observers anticipate a night of vindication for Conor. Ben marked by a ruthless display that leaves no doubt as to who was more deserving of the win and who truly will have destroyed his adversary. Meanwhile, Tyson Fury just gave his prediction in an interview with TNT Sports and is supporting Eubank at 160 lb. He said, "It's a weight category thing. If it's 10.5 stone, it's going to be Conor Benn. If it's at middleweight, then probably Chris Eubank Jr. The contract includes a 10-pound rehydration limit, requiring Eubank to step on the scales again Saturday morning. If he tips over 170 lb, he could face financial penalties." However, Billy Joe Saunders, a former champion, believes Ben will have enough to knock out his old rival. He shares a heated past with Chris Eubank Jr., stemming from their bitter showdown more than a decade ago. A clash Saunders edged out on points, adding fuel to a rivalry that's far from over. In an interview with Box Nation, Saunders shared his thoughts on his former opponent's upcoming fight on April 26th, expressing confidence that the younger fighter will rise to the occasion and secure a knockout victory. Hay said, "As of late, he's looked a little bit old, should we say? And don't forget, Eubank's not the kind of boxer to get on behind his jab, get a nice lead, use his footwork. He's been in some scraps, and he's been in some good scraps with not the best opponents, but they've still give him some good work. I just think if Conor catches him clean and can follow up on one of those good shots, sort of like a Liam Smith shot, I think Conor Benn knocks him out." Derek Chisora is sure to be among the massive crowd when Eubank Jr. and Ben finally resolve their rivalry that has been simmering for more than 2 years. There are differing views on which man will win, and Del Boy refrained from picking a winner in an interview with TalkSport. He acknowledged, though, that he thinks the person who loses will leave in an ambulance. He said, "I love both fighters, so I'm not going to say who's going to win because I believe the loser will leave in an ambulance. I just want them to come out healthy and safe." Throughout most of his career, the Destroyer has fought as a welterweight, but now he's moving up 2 weight classes to challenge Eubank at middleweight. Many experts speculate that the significant size difference could play a crucial role in determining the outcome. Nonetheless, a 10 lb limit for rehydration the following day is in place, which should in principle benefit the naturally smaller man. A 2-way rematch provision is also included in the deal, so there's a good potential that fight fans will see the 2 family rivals again later this year. However, for the time being, all roads lead to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on April 26th, where one of the most significant matches in British history will take place. Meanwhile, former world champion Joe Calzaghe will be among those watching. He famously claimed his first world title with a unanimous decision victory over Chris Eubank Sr. in October 1997. Calzaghe, who went on to hold the world championship for over a decade, making 21 successful title defenses along the way. In his prediction for the fight this Saturday, Calzaghe told TalkSport Boxing that he was leaning slightly in favor of Eubank Jr. Calzaghe said, "Yeah, I think it's a tough one to call. Talent-wise, I think they're on the same sort of level, but size normally wins fights. So I sort of edge with Eubank as he's the bigger guy naturally. However, Eubank is the one in danger in Saturday night's mixed war." With Conor Benn as per former opponent George Groves in 2018, the 37-year-old successfully defended his WBA super middleweight title by defeating Eubank Jr. by a thrilling points margin. The Saint understands the torment Eubank Jr. is enduring, stripping his 5'11" body down to just 11 Saint B 7 years later at 35 years old. In contrast, Benn hasn't fought at his original welterweight limit of 10 stone 7 pound since 2022, with his last 2 victories coming at the super welterweight limit of 11 stone in order to reach the 160 lb restriction. Chris Eubank informed Sunsport this week that his son would need to melt and dehydrate 20 lbs. Benn, however, can gain 6 lb of muscle for the match at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Groves now training and managing rising cruiserweight Lucas Rohrig said taking off a few pounds is hard. It'll be hard for him. You can see it's hard for him. This is at middleweight and there is nothing wrong with that. Conor is a middleweight now. He will never touch welterweight again. Conor had 2 fights at 154 lbs and is now at middleweight. Headed, people don't tend to get hurt when they move up in weight. It's when you are cutting weight and dehydrating that you are more likely to get hurt. If you are dehydrated in camp and sparring and getting caught, you get hurt. So the danger is for Chris Eubank Jr. The sole blemish on Eubank Jr. His record is a devastating stoppage defeat to Liam Smith in January 2023. It remains the only time the iron-chinned fighter has been halted, but he exacted revenge in stunning fashion just 7 months later. Groves cleverly highlights that just 3 months before Eubank Jr. had pushed himself to make the 157 lbs. Catch weight for the original Benn fight, leaving him looking severely depleted, he said. When Chris went down to fight at 157 lbs after he had boxed mostly at 168 lbs, that was a step too far. That was forcing a square peg in a round hole. He couldn't beat me at 168 lb and went down. And when he went down to middleweight and lost to Liam Smith, I thought it was the weight cut that did him. So far, the pre-fight media events have been successful.
A lot of the way through, it was humorous in places, quite deep in other places as well, when Eubank was talking about his late brother and Raheem, the young son that he left behind. I have to say, very strong start by our ring comrade Rick Reno. He kind of set a hot pace there, didn't he? Came out of the blocks absolutely knees pumping there, Reno. He really did, and everybody else had to follow him.
I was thinking, this is a Hagler Hearns. This can't go past 3 rounds.
But it was good, Sonny, wasn't it? You know, there was plenty in there, because with boxing's a really serious sport. We know what can happen in there. It's too serious to be too serious all the time, and that was an enjoyable press conference.
100%, and it thinks crazy to me that we're talking about Reno, someone that started a boxing website has now got a job somewhere else and is coming on giving the biggest promoters in the world stick. It blows my mind, and whoever did pay him and encourage him to say that, there's probably 10,000 people in boxing that will do a 10 10,000 times job.
Eubank Jr. cracked an egg over his second-generation rival, much to the dismay of his father Chris, in an attempt to remind the world of Benn's excuse for the 2022 doping scandal that led to the cancellation of their first fight. Benn said at the time that he had consumed too many eggs, which is why he tested positive for the reproductive medication clomiphene. Eubank Jr. also alleged that the son of British boxing icon Nigel owes promoter Eddie Hearn millions of pounds. This event, however, has been far from the typical spectacle designed to sell tickets. Groves sees a crafty thinker in action. Most fights have a lot of dull build-up, he added. He then said, I don't want to go to press conferences and watch Eddie Hearn interview. Everyone, one by one, Chris has been prepared for every stage of this build-up. Chris has brought his game. He might have moved his line in the sand to somewhere that his dad would not have gone to. But I am certain he knows what he is doing, and he knew Conor would implode. The fight is about who can hold their nerve. According to Groves, what you see is what you get from Conor Benn. He is going to come out hard and fast. He is going to try to land something big early. Let's see if Eubank can get past those first 3 or 4 rounds. I still make Eubank the favorite. The build-up to Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn has already got spicy. And now Carl Froch has made his final fight prediction. The Cobra contrasted the two fighters' resumes while he was on his own. Frost on Fighting Channel said that when considering all the variables, such as who had done what, who was the bigger and stronger man, and who had the experience at world level, Chris Eubank Jr. stood out. He noted that Eubank had fought the likes of Groves, and Saunders had beaten Arthur Abraham and James DeGale, a former world champion, and had consistently proven himself at a higher weight and at world level. In contrast, Froch remarked that Conor Benn had done nothing of note, although Benn had knocked out Chris Algieri and looked good doing it. Froch emphasized that Algieri was well past his best. Froch concluded by saying that if he had to pick an immediate favorite in the fight, he would.
Who's done what, and who's the bigger, stronger man, and who's got the experience at world level? You're gonna have to say Chris Eubank Jr. He's fought Groves, he's fought Billy Joe Saunders, he's been in there and beat Arthur Abraham, James DeGale, former IBF super middleweight world champion. He beat him. So he's performed at a better level and proven that at a higher weight, he kind of belongs around the world, sort of the world level status, where Conor Benn hasn't done anything. He's done nothing. Make no mistake. Yes, he banged out Chris Algieri, who was a former champ, and he looked good doing it. But it was a way past his best, Chris Algieri. I was working the commentary team for him alongside Roy Jones Jr. when Billy Joe Saunders fought Canelo Alvarez, and Chris was saying to me, I'm not in the gym, I'm not training, I'm not interested in boxing anymore, I'm going to concentrate on my punditry. About 6 months later, I'm seeing getting knocked out by Conor Benn. I thought, what is going on? Why do these fighters do it? Obviously, some of them need the bunts.
Go with Chris Eubank Jr. That's all from today's video. Stay tuned, and we will catch you in the next